Ellery McClanahan. Did you know that Ellery was the heavy hitter on the baseball team and a running back on the football team when he was in high school? Did you know that Ellery is a veteran, having served in the Marine Corps prior to going to college? Did you know he was an avid tennis player and king of the bees in Houston for many, many years? Please welcome our first speaker, Ellery McClanahan. His speech title is Nuts. Nuts from Ellery McClanahan.
If you consider yourself a nut, you may not want to go any further here. Now, this is a tale of two nuts. One group of nuts grows in the jungles and in the forests and in the fields and is picked and brought as a vegetable or a legume to the tables of human beings, for instance, as a form of nutrition. The other kind of nut I'm talking about is a human being who is considered a nut, and how he deals with that situation and how people that think he's a nut deal with him. So let's start off with the individual, and then we'll sort of try to work in the nutrition aspect of this question for you. The individual in question is Bryson DeChambeau, who is a physics major from SMU, grew up in California, and is an avid golf player. So avid that he told his father when he was a kid, "I want someday to be the best golf player in the world." And he played golf at SMU, and he plays golf now. He's in about his third or fourth year on the PGA Professional Tour. He doesn't look like a nut, but he is characterized as a nut because his habits are so unusual. Golf is a very conservative game in which everybody basically plays by the same format, rules, etc. But Bryson DeChambeau has figured out for himself that he's going to apply his physics degree to the playing of golf. And so he measures, for instance, the lengths of the putts that he's going to make, steps it out, and then he measures the angle of the hill that he's going to be going up or down with the putt, or the various tactics of getting around a hill on the green. And he figures it out in his head, what is the best putt to hit, and off he goes. Same thing with his drive. He has a large handle on his driver, and he holds it more like a baseball bat than a golf club. And therefore, he gets the muscles of his hands involved rather than the fingers holding the club. And his theory is to hit the ball as hard as he can and let it go out there as far as he can make it so that he's closer to the green, and he doesn't have to make such a good shot as somebody who might have hit it 220 yards and he's out at 350 and the hole is at, say, 500 yards away. The 350 only has 150 in, whereas the 220 has 280 in, let's say. So he doesn't care if his ball is over in the rough. He doesn't care if it's in high grass, because he's got himself in pretty good shape, and he can hit the ball out of the heavy grass. Now, the interesting thing is, he hadn't done terribly well with but he likes to tell people all about the physics of playing golf. And he will lecture you, or he will just talk with you, or he'll just pass on the tips, but it's the main thing on his mind. And he recently, he went into the same pandemic routine that you and I did. And at the beginning of the pandemic routine in March, he said to the players, "I will be just a little different when I come back." And when he came back, he'd gained 35 pounds. So he weighed upwards of 185 or 90. He'd been, sort of a thin version of himself. And he's bulked up with, he eats protein shakes, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Go Macro bars, and another protein shake to sort of top it off later in the day. And when he's walking down the golf course, he may be drinking a protein shake. So anyway, he's all bulked up. And so he comes out to the golf course, and his theory is, I needed an extra 35 or 40 pounds so I could hit the ball harder. And lo and behold, it was true. And now his golf ball goes about 320 yards or 330, and it's a shorter distance to the green. And lo and behold, in the recent US Open, he won the tournament by 6 shots over everybody else. And there were 175 golfers who entered. So everybody in the sports scene, those of us that are watching sports, or those of us that are playing, are very well aware of, and they think he's sort of a nut. And he wears this cap that looks just like this, which is unlike most golfers who wear sort of like a baseball brim that goes out. And that's his signature hat. This is the same hat that Ben Hogan used to wear, but that was back in the 1940s. Anyway, so Bryson wears the cap, and he's done very well recently. And he says when in the off season coming up, he's going to put on some more weight so that he can hit it farther. And of course, he's always working out his muscles. So for those of you, and he has all of his golf clubs are the same length rather than different lengths. His putter is at a bigger angle elevation than his putter's at bigger elevation than his driver. So anyway, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens to what many of these other golfers consider to be a real nut. Now, the other question I wanted to answer for you, since we were discussing nuts, is how can you get better by eating nuts? And these are the nuts that I eat. They're called Kirkland unsalted mixed nuts, cashews, pistachios, almonds, and pecans. And I'm telling you, they are fantastic. I'm not going to try to go out on the golf course and show off, but these are my nuts. So if any of you want to join me, and I'll see you over at Costco, and we will enjoy a nut together. Thank you.